This is episode number 631 of the Inner Fight Podcast. Welcome back to another episode of the show, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for downloading, tuning in, watching on YouTube, no matter where you are in the world or where you're watching, listening to this. Hope that you're doing well. Hope that you're staying fit and healthy, taking care of what really matters at these times. Let's take care of what matters. Our show sponsor, Smith Street Paleo. Give them a shout out. Please do hop over to smithstreetpaleo.com, see what's going on over there. If you're in Dubai, UAE, and want food delivering to you, breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, whatever you want, it can be done. Hello at smithstreetpaleo.com. Give those guys a shout. Today's show is the recording of InnerTalks number 20, which was our second virtual Zoom-hosted InnerTalks. Went down absolutely beautifully. 4 amazing speakers. Wolfi, a good friend of mine. Those of you that live in Dubai might know him from the bike shop. Andrea, she is a triathlete with us at Inner Fight Endurance. Amazing story how that all started. And then Rasha, who contacted me actually during the last InnerTalks, or just after the last InnerTalks, and said she wants to talk. And it wrapped up with Dia, a musician who truly, and this you have to listen to right to the end, or if you really push on time, just skip to the end. I shouldn't say that. But he showed us that the power of music is as equally strong as the power of sport. Ladies and gentlemen, this is podcast number 631. This is InnerTalks 20. Thank you so much. No matter where you are in the world, enjoy the show. Good morning. Hopefully everyone is doing absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much to everyone that has joined on time. As you guys know, we like to start on time. Respect for you, respect for me, respect for the speakers, respect for everyone. This is InnerTalks number 20. Wow. Did I think 5 years ago that when we started this, we'd be sat here behind these screens delivering InnerTalks number 20 in 2020? Not really. And that's why I think sometimes you've just got to roll with stuff, even more so at the moment. I hope you guys have rolled with pretty much everything over the last month since we last had the talk. Thanks to everyone who's coming back from InnerTalks 19 to join us in InnerTalks 20. That was awesome. This lineup today is also absolutely awesome. You haven't come to listen to my voice. You get enough of that anyway. Those of you that do listen to my podcast or listen to me on social media, you get plenty of me. It's all about these guys. Talking about podcasts, one thing, this show will be on our podcast a week on Sunday. So not this coming Sunday, a week on Sunday. So if you really enjoy it and you want to share it with friends, or if you want to listen to it again, it will be live a week on Sunday on the Inner Fight podcast. So shall we rock and roll? Just a couple of housekeeping things, guys, this morning. I have 4 speakers who I'm going to introduce one by one. They're going to talk about 10 minutes each. If you guys do have questions you want to drop into the chat along the way or send them in the Q&A along the way, you can do that. And hopefully we'll have about 10 minutes at the end where the speakers can answer your questions. So there's going to be a little bit of time for interaction if all goes well. Let's kick it off with our first speaker. 7 years ago, I finished a run at Nadal Sheba, and flying across the car park comes this German accent. Markus! Who is this guy? Needs really no introduction. It was Wolfi, and it was the start of an incredible relationship that we've had. And this guy's had an incredible relationship with Dubai as the original bicycle store here. And one thing, and I think that's why we've connected all the way, and I'm not going to ruin his story, is that Wolfi loves bikes and loves to see people riding bikes. It's his passion and it's his business, but really it's his passion first. I've ridden with him multiple times. He's normally a little bit behind me, but this guy loves bikes and loves people. And I'm super stoked to have him talk for us this morning. Our first speaker, Wolfi. Let's get you on. Can we ask your video to start? And we should go. There you go, boss.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much, Markus, for this incredible introduction. And I'm really happy to be on the show and speak. I've not missed any of the 20 InnerTalks, and I've been there many times, and it was always really an inspiration. I was always happy to hear all the stories of everyone. So I hope everyone is happy, healthy at home. Ramadan Kareem to everyone. And before I maybe run out of time at the end, I want to say thanks to Holly, Marcus, the coaches, the whole team, the whole Inner Fight family. I think, I don't know if you really realize how important is what you do. And I think this is really something I want to say thanks in the name of all of the people you have trained. And I think it's just an incredible thing what you do for all of us. Marcus asked me a couple of days ago to speak about the InnerTalks. And he said, hey, why not speaking about the power of sports? And then I thought, yeah, it's nice. It's a good topic. And I thought about it again. And then I thought, what do I do? And I thought, okay, I speak to my friend Albert Einstein. And I heard once that if you you say something and you put his face next to the topic, I think people pay more attention and it gets more credibility. I thought I'd give it a try. So I think maybe, but we will come to Albert later on because he said some nice things about cycling as well. A few days ago, we were sitting at a dinner table and I asked my daughter and my wife to give me some inspiration for sports and what's the power of sports for them. And they said, yeah. My daughter said, oh, I get bored easily. And then I asked my wife and she said, oh, I don't like to sweat too much. And Anna said, yeah, as well. Sweating is not so really my thing. And then I thought, okay, good. That's not really the inspiration I was looking for. So I started Googling and I said, okay, the power of sports. And one of the first things which came up was, it was Nelson Mandela. And I like a good quote, and we will have a few quotes later on. And he said, the power of sports can change the world. And I was thinking about this sentence the last couple of mornings when I was doing my confinement exercise. It's a mix out of Swift, which is an indoor training platform I'm using every morning, and some water gallon squats in the garden and some rubber band stretching. And I thought about this topic, and I thought about the power of sports and what Nelson Mandela meant with how the power of sports can connect the world and heal the world. And I thought about events like the Football World Cup and the Tour de France, the Olympic Games. And I thought how amazing these events are and how they can bring people together, and how I think the world forgets about nationalities, about all these other things. And I think we just come together. And I thought about as well about the local sports events like Dubai Marathon, 30-30, obviously the crazy events Marcus did with running, Dubai Ironman. And it's so nice for me when I come to these events to see how people, how happy they are. And I feel really there I can feel the power of sports. I thought about amazing Monday morning classes we have it with our team at Inner Fight CrossFit. This is just amazing how you can see and how you can feel what it does to people. Since I'm here 18 years ago now in Dubai, we organize a ride, and it's the Dubai Roadsters Friday morning ride. And we have over 150 cyclists which join every morning for the ride. And we have people from Europe, from UK, from Australia, US, Philippines, and from many more countries. And I think I really enjoy that. Even so, some of the people, they speak different languages. Some speak mainly Arabic, French, and we can't really communicate. But at the same time, we have this passion for sport, and we connect and we build friendships during the ride, even though we feel like there's a mutual passion for the sport. And I think this is something I really enjoy. And I think that's for me as well, the story of Dubai, that we can mix and match with all these people. So that was something very special for me as well. The power of sports overall, I feel, unites the nation. I don't know if it's the same for you guys, if you're watching big sports events like the Tour de France, and especially when I watch the Olympics. During this time watching the Olympics, I just feel like a bit like a different person. I feel that everyone moves a little bit closer together. We can really feel how the world connects as we're watching games. I like to watch football games. Normally, I'm not a big football person, but I feel during the World Cup, all the nations coming together, and we really share that passion. And I feel like some of the ideas we have about other people just disappear because of the power of sports. It just connects us. And I think this is really wonderful. My personal story for the power of sports is a little different. One day I realized when I was a teenager, I was a bit of a choppy teenager, and I needed to do something. I got a bit more conscious about my appearance and my body. And I went to the local gym, which we had in our town. And obviously first you walk in, it's a bit of a daunting experience when you walk into that gym. And it's a bit like you walk into Inner Fight and you see all the coaches without the shirt. So that's how I felt when I was like a 13, 14-year-old boy walking in there. But I was immediately intrigued by what happened there, and maybe the opportunity to change myself and to change my appearance. And so I started training in the gym, and it's something I really enjoy until that day, and was reunited with joining InnerFight many years back. But I think that felt really special to me. A few years later, my oldest brother, who was a big inspiration for me, who was a very sporty person, and I really looked up to him because he was kind of what I wanted to be. He was always in good shape. He was very honest about his body, and I think he was just, in my opinion, he was always a very attractive person as a man. Yeah, he looked very strong, and so I thought, okay, this is something I'm inspiring to, and so. He got himself a mountain bike, a first mountain bike, and it was something completely different to what we know today in terms of technology-wise. And I was very envious because I thought I want to join him, but I didn't have the funds, so I saved up my money, and then I got my first, and it was a super colorful. I remember super colorful mountain bike, like a rainbow colors. And that was my first mountain bike, and I got out in the forest. I'm from the Black Forest in Germany. And we got out into the forests, and I think this passion never left me. And I still, until today, I think cycling is something very, very special for me. If I think what cycling for me is obviously a bit of an escape. All kind of sports is a bit of an escape. I'm trying to go into my sports routine. Go on my bike, and I feel like it's something very special happening to me. And again, I feel that's one of the power of sports as well. I can go on my bike, I start riding, and it's really something magical happens. I think it's all the time I'm doing exercising it is, but on a bicycle it's specific. So it's I get on my bike, and obviously our body produces endorphins, adrenaline, serotonin, and all these things, and that's kind of a cocktail. It's almost as strong as morphine, I read once, and so this cocktail really flashes through my system, and I sometimes compare it with falling asleep. So you go to bed and you're trying to fall asleep, and you don't really know when it happens, but then the next morning you wake up and you're all refreshed. And the same happens when I'm on my bicycle. I'm riding my bike, and I'm riding, and maybe Marcus, you think I'm falling asleep, but it's not exactly the same. But I feel like it is that point where I kind of completely dive into that activity, and I forget everything around me. I'm riding with my friends, and suddenly kind of the ride is over, and I feel completely refreshed. That's the only thing I have when I'm sleeping as well. So that is this feeling. So I'm super happy that I found this for me, that I enjoy. And Albert Einstein said, life is like riding a bicycle. You must keep riding to keep your balance. And I think this is good. And you keep your balance while you're moving. And that's, again, a power of sport. I think it's just important that we see, and we try to keep moving all the time. We keep looking forward. And I think that is something I learned a lot. And I think before I came into work, sport taught me a lot of things about myself. And I learned a lot of things from sport. And for example, sport taught me a lot of discipline, so that you have to get up and ride your bike. So it's nothing which is just easily given to you. And I could apply these rules, which I learned in sport earlier. I could always use them in my regular daily life. Sport taught me as well to be competitive. And I felt it was not always about me. It was as well about pushing yourself to your limits, giving your best in every day, as well pushing others, which I enjoy, to see how we can push each other in life, and how we can feed from another. I learned that there's always room for improvement. And this was something I really enjoy. I feel like going out, if it's a technical improvement, if it's just better training. And I feel this is something as well you can use in life if you just try to keep on improving yourself. Sport taught me to be humble, especially if you feel like you're an accomplished sports person, and then you start something new and you start a new sport. Like I started CrossFit again, and I learned that that's actually quite challenging. And I think it humbles you, because you feel like, okay, you're not in everything kind of a specialist. And I think that was a really, really good experience. I learned a lot about team play through sports, friendships, obviously friendships with Marcus, with all the other people in InnerFight, with all the cyclists I met over the years. I think that's something very special. I learned to sport to deal with defeats. I think it's not always about winning. And I think you can just learn to, even if you lose and you get defeated, you just get up and you try again until you succeed. Sport taught me the relation between effort and success. I think there's a clear relation between the effort you put into something and what you get out of it. I think, again, we can't expect that things get given to us. I think sports can teach us a lot, and to put effort and then get the result. Yeah, I think keep pushing until you really can't do anymore, and you don't just stop because when you feel you want to stop. I learned for myself personally that sometimes my head tells me in one way, okay, I'm done, I can't go anymore. And then I see people going again and doing some extra reps or just pushing again, and somehow you have some more energy in your body than you really believe. And I think we can really learn this, and I learned this more in sports than I learned during work and doing my regular life, because sometimes in sports, especially when you're on a bike, you can always do one more rotation, one more crank, one more push on the pedal. And I felt like in sports, many times I felt like, okay, no, I can't go. And then maybe one of the group riders would just shoot off, and you would think, okay, come on, let's give it one more push, let's give it one more try. And I think if we keep on learning this during sports, I think this gives us a lot of energy to come to the daily challenges we have. I love that we have so many different ages, different genders, different nationalities as well when we go into InnerFight. And I think this is what I love about InnerFight. When you go there, you see all these different people. You see Marcus, you see Holly, you see Marcus's sister training with. You see a whole family with the kids, with the nephews of Marcus training. And I think it's just amazing for me. And I'm sometimes I come in the morning and I have just a big smile on my face, because I just love that energy. And a day we do my Monday morning class with the team of Wolfis, and I think it's something which I feel is very, very special to us. And I just walk away with a completely different level of energy. So thanks to all the guys there. Dubai overall, I have to say, has been a very great experience for us. And I'm very grateful that I'm in the sports industry, and that every day when I go to the shop, it's almost like the aim for me to help someone to get into cycling. And hopefully I can ignite the passion for the sport, and I can give this what I feel when I'm on the bike. I can give it to another person, and I can help them to have this in their life, because I feel really it's so powerful for me. And I couldn't have survived Dubai without having bikes obviously because it's my business, but at the same time bikes because I feel like it's something which gives me so much back. And I'm really happy if I can see and if I can hear the stories when people come back after some months, some years, and they said, you know what, you were the first person who got me that bike, and you really started something in my life which was something very special. And I think all the people in the room and all people listening today and watching this, I think we're all kind of sports addicts. And I think if we look around ourselves and we see maybe people where we feel they're maybe in not the best space in life, and we can go there and say, hey, and we can maybe kind of infect them with the sports bug, and we can go and take kind of a bit of the responsibility to get them into the sport and make sure that they get started. Is it InnerFight? Is it going for a run? Is it something like this? I think it's nice if we can just get more people activated and getting into the sport. So I think that would be my request to maybe all of you, just see who is around you. Who is there one person who you feel he could do with some extra energy and extra sport, and maybe we can reach out to them and ask them to come for a ride and go for a run, or join one of the bring friends classes to InnerFight. That would be great. And my last quote for today, and is a nice one. Greg LeMond once said, "It never gets easier. It never gets easier. You just go faster." And I think that's something as well, something special to me. I think we always feel like life should be easy and everything in sports should be easy, but I think that's not the case. I think it's just the pleasure of pushing yourself and taking it to the next level. And it doesn't really get any easier, but you get faster while you practice. So that's how I want to leave you for the weekend. And thank you very much for the opportunity to speak, Marcus. And I think you're doing something very special. And thanks for the friendship over all these years.
Thank you, mate. Thank you. Some really interesting points about sport, mate. And maybe we talk offline about the communication with Germans. But mate, thank you so much. That's lots for us to think about. That's for sure. The next our next speaker is probably our meeting was probably the polar opposite of how I met Wolfi, in that I met Andrea at about just before 5 a.m. one morning, just here by my house when I was running my marathons. Rather than screeching across the car park like Wolfi did, Andrew was very quiet, asked me a few questions. And to be honest, we spoke a little bit, and I always remember what I remember the conversation, but I didn't really know what would happen later. I knew that Wolfi and I would spend time in sport. We straight away. Andrea has blown my mind over the last 18 months in what she's done. And I'm so happy that she's going to share her story with us this morning. Andrea, thank you so much for agreeing to be with us. Hopefully I can get your video on. Ask to start video and we should rock and roll.
Yes, here we go. Thank you, Marcus, for that amazing intro. And I think I will just start my story and it will really line up to everything that you just said. So one morning I was driving to work and I was listening to the radio. Chris Fade was talking about this guy who was running 30 marathons in 30 days, which just sounded insane. And he was about to go on air, just finishing his 14th run in a row that day. So it was crazy, but there he was giving an interview at the end of his marathon, not even being out of breath. So a couple of seconds later, my phone rang and it was my husband. He said, Andrea, there is this guy and he's running 30 marathons in 30 days. You have to join him. Well, as you can see, running was a hot topic in our household those days because I was training for my first half marathon. I never ran with people simply because I never knew how my training would turn out. I just ran on feel and I never really had a plan or a training in front of me. I didn't need company to confuse me or get me out of my rhythm, really. But I thought, you know what, I will make an exception and I will go and run with Marcus. So on a Thursday morning, I woke up at 4 a.m. to go and meet him at the flagpole around his house, as he mentioned. It was a very, very quiet morning and we didn't chat much. As it turned out, that day was one of the toughest days for Marcus. He said later that he needed his special gears to get through the run. But we spoke a little bit and I remember asking him what is the thing that he enjoys the most during these morning runs. And he said it's the sunrise. I will always remember, as he told us, guys, you should always look out for the sunrise. Now, how magical that morning turned out to be for me can only be described with a picture. And this is the picture of the sunrise later that morning. Now, as you can imagine, the sunrise was not the reason why I signed up for an Ironman. It was something that I always had in the back of my mind, but for some reason I was just not ready or not confident enough to go for it. But those few runs with Marcus and the other people who joined him, because yes, I did go back for a few more runs. So those people just showed me a whole new reality, a reality where all these big challenges and big dreams that would normally seem impossible were just really normal, like acceptable and manageable. So I signed up with Inner Fight Endurance. It was December 2018. And at the same time, I also signed up for my first Ironman, which was happening in only 7 months. Now, at this point, I didn't have a bike. I didn't swim laps in a pool for probably more than 10 years, but I could run and I was determined and very, very inspired and motivated. So the next 7 months was really all about training for me. It was just training, nutrition, sleep, recovery, like nothing else mattered. And while my lifestyle completely changed very, very quickly, normally I would say that a change like this would come at a cost or a great compromise, really. But for me, it all just came very, very naturally. I almost felt like I just found myself and this is how I wanted to be and this is how I wanted to live my life. And when I look back, I feel that I was in this state of flow where all the hardship of the training was just manageable and really just part of the game. So since then, I read a lot about this psychological concept called the flow. I'm sure that you all heard about it because many of the sport-related books are referring to this. But I would like to take you back to the original definition of flow by a psychologist called Csikszentmihalyi, and let me read this. Flow is a state in which people are so involved in an activity that nothing else seems to matter. The experience is so enjoyable that people will continue to do it for the sheer sake of doing it. Now, Csikszentmihalyi interviewed professional athletes, artists, and musicians to find out about their ideal performance and how they feel during those experiences. But I truly believe that you don't have to be a professional athlete or a talented artist to experience the flow. I know for myself that I experienced it many, many times during my 7-month training, and the accumulation of those experiences made those 7 months the happiest months of my life. Let me just pull up this chart very quickly to show you flow in a context, right? So flow is in the right upper corner, as you can see, and flow happens when you have a huge challenge in front of you and you need all of your skills, the maximum level of your skills to perform that activity. The direct opposite of that is called apathy. Apathy happens when there is no challenge or no skill really required. And you can think about activities such as watching TV or scrolling through your social media feed. I think you can all refer to another state here, which is mentioned as anxiety. Most of us experience it at work when we get a task that is too big for us and we just feel that we cannot live up to the expectations. But it can also happen that we have all the skills in the world, but the challenge is just not really big enough. So we feel in this comfort zone in full control. And I believe you can all understand by now that all these states are really not ideal. They are really not optimal for you. Where you want to be is up there in the right upper corner in the flow state. Basically, when flow state happens, you are in full focus and full concentration, and you have kind of an ecstasy, like a feeling of ecstasy, a greater inner clarity because you know what you have to do, and you also know that you will be able to do it. And what is very interesting for me is that flow comes from an intrinsic motivation. Whatever drives flow becomes its own reward. So I have this friend who I hadn't seen for probably 6 or 7 years, and he was flying through Dubai just 2 months before my Ironman race. So we met for dinner, and obviously I told him all about my exciting life of waking up at 5 a.m. and going to bed at 8 p.m. and all the things that happen in between. And he was really shocked. He was surprised because he saw a completely different person compared to what he expected or what he was used to from the past. I have plenty of special memories and moments from my Ironman race, but this must be really high up on the list. This friend of mine, who by the way lives in Myanmar, he flew down to Austria where my race was happening for 36 hours just to come and support me during my race. And if this wouldn't be special enough, 5 months later, he sent me a picture of himself finishing his first half marathon. Just a few weeks ago, before all this craziness in the world started, I got another picture of him, and it was of his first race bike because he was about to start training for triathlons. So I think my takeaway here is that a flow state, being in your zone, is not only beneficial for you. You can only really influence people or have a good positive impact on people when you're challenging yourself and when you're willing to learn new skills. Well, at the end, this is exactly how I got inspired by Marcus, right? And it seems that the same seems to work for people who are less famous than him. So my advice to you is please go out there and find your flow. Thank you so much. Marcus, back to you.
Thank you so much, Andrea. Amazing. Wow. You got me with that picture. I was like, oh my God. Incredible. And I think we've just seen your warm up I'm not sure if you're in the main piece yet. So we're looking forward to what's coming next. Amazing. Moving on. Amazing stuff. Our next speaker this is what I think is one of the best parts about what's happened over the last 8 weeks. There's so many great things that have happened. But after or during InnerTalks 19, just after, I got a message from our next speaker, Rasha. And she said she just came across InnerTalks on Tom Otten's LinkedIn. She said she joined it and was massively inspired, loved the concept. And so I asked her, why don't you speak at the next one? Thankfully, she agreed. And here we have our next speaker, Rasha.
Thank you, Marcus. Okay, let me start my video. Good morning, everyone. I got my timer on. I'll try to keep it short because I'm a sucker for Q&As as well. I want to thank Wolfi and Andrea for their inspiring words. And it's so interesting how the conversations and the topics are flowing so perfectly, because Wolfi, you landed it when you said that sports do bring people together, just from your own personal motivation and the motivation of others. And Andrea, you couldn't have been more on point with how someone else can actually influence you and motivate you based off of how you're feeling, and that can actually grow by the second. And I relate to that just because 4 years ago, when I actually first moved to Dubai, after being in India for 1 month, gaining yoga teacher certification, I'm exhausted. And in 2 days, my sister had signed me up for the Nike run. And this was the Nike run around Burj Khalifa downtown at 7 a.m. It was my first 10K, which to some people is nothing. I know some people eat 10Ks for breakfast, so kudos to you. But it was my first 10K, and my goal was to just not stop. Don't walk, don't stop, just go, don't think about the time. And that's exactly what I did. About 4 or 5 minutes into the race, this was about 15,000 people, I believe, this morning were running all together, which is phenomenal. But about 4 or 5 minutes in, I felt a body figure kind of next to me, pacing with me back and forth. And at one point I just said, you know what, I'm just going to, we're at the same pace in the same zone. I'm just going to stick with her. And 10 minutes goes by, 20 minutes goes by, 30 minutes goes by. We're still side by side. And at one point we realized, okay, we're going to finish this race together. Even when we would stop and grab a quick water bottle, we would pace ourselves and wait for the other. Not saying one word. Every once in a while we'd say, come on, pick it up. And I don't even know this stranger. I don't know this person, but this was my motivation. Along with my own personal motivation, do not stop. At the very end, I was ready to give up. I think it was the last 1K, and I see her and she's waving to me, let's go, let's go, let's go. And I pushed through, we finished it. We gave each other a massive hug. I don't even remember her name. It was the last time I ever saw her. And I said to her, I said, you are the reason why I was able to finish this race. And she looked at me and said, you're the reason why I finished this race. So it's absolutely beautiful how the flow of the mindset can actually get us to do that. So thank you guys for bringing that up, because it just brought up a really good memory. Firstly, I would like to wish you all well and hope that you're keeping safe during this new change in our world. I know it's not easy to just uproot our lives and adapt to the new changes, rules and regulations, the changes in our bodies, the changes in our mindset. And bringing up Tom Otten is why I was very motivated by these talks. He actually brought up a really good point in the fact that we should be using the resources that we have. And the most important thing right now, I think, that he mentioned is the headspace, having a positive headspace. We can choose when we want to take a nap. He said we can choose when we want to go for a run or go for a walk. And I think being able to use those resources that we have in our homes to move and motivate and just to do something, just to make the best and embrace what's going on and still have the best day that you could possibly have while quarantined or while adapting to this new change is so important, because what you tell yourself and what you believe has to lead you to having a good day, has to lead you to believing that things can look despite all of this change. Now, I know there's some people in the world that believed this was only going to last a week or this was only going to last a month. There's probably some that still don't really know or believe the severity of this crisis, but not getting too deep and negative into that. I think that the ones that do understand that this is beyond us and bigger than us and are taking it to change their lives for the better and adapt to this new world is truly inspiring, because that's the only way that we will get through this. I think that our worries completely have changed. I know mine have, where back 2-3 months ago, people were still worrying about what they would wear to brunch, or if they were going to make it in the car wash line on time so that they can make it to dinner on time without waiting too long, not cutting it close to your visa run for certain tourists, when the next holiday leave is going to be. And now our worries are kind of a little different, where it's, am I going to make it on time for this birthday Zoom party versus what to get this person as a gift? And now the time and the FaceTime is the gift, which is truly amazing. No added kilometers on your car. The time we had at work that we wish were on holiday, now we are, and now we're hoping that we secure our job in our companies. But it's scary. A lot of people's worries have changed drastically and are still changing, I think, day to day. But the most important is your headspace. So I definitely want to strain on what Tom Otten said in that last talk. I think one thing that we can all be certain of, that we all share, is the biggest worry we have right now, and it's not necessarily a bad thing, but the biggest worry is to survive. You know, we have no certainty of how long this will last, when it will get better, when we'll be okay, when we'll feel safe to go outside or to gather in groups or even leave the country. I mean, right now I'm far away from my family, but I have no interest in leaving because Dubai has set these rules and regulations to protect us. And unfortunately, there are a few people that aren't seeing it that way, but I think day by day, when they realize that the numbers are going up and this is for our own good, things will change and things will get better, because we do need to adapt to this new world. My biggest thing when it comes to your health and what we can do to make ourselves better and the people around us that we care about is how you treat yourself mentally and physically. So let's get physical for a second. Whether you're sitting on your couch or sitting in a chair, I want you to find some length from your lower spine. Do it with me. Take a deep inhale and just release. Now, whether you're working at home through a computer, through the phone, through your DJ set, whatever you're doing, every 5 to 10 minutes, take a breath. Just stop, even flow into what you're doing. Take a breath, because if you think about the amount of movement that we used to do when we used to be able to leave our house and go for a run or go for a cycle, anything that we used to do now is completely taken a 180. And if you're working on the computer, for example, turn that screen off. You know, I want you to put it down. I want you to take a breath, rest your eyes, rest your fingers, because if you do these things, you're not taking care of yourself. And one of the things that I actually learned in India, which I'll take it to the grave with me, is that your body hears everything that your mind is saying. And then I came and I ran my first 10K ever. And then a year later, I ran a second 10K. And my time was a little different. The idea is to just listen. Your body will listen to you. If you're feeling a tummy ache or you have that headache or you're just lazy, but then you tell yourself, no, just do it. Take the Apple Watch, for example. Before this pandemic hit, I would see the time to stand up notification. I'm like, yeah, I've been standing all day. I've been walking all day. I'm fine. Now it's something to do. Now I'll do it. I can stand up for a minute. I can take a breath for a minute. I can do that stretch. If there's something that I want to accomplish, I just have to put my mindset in doing so. Now, if you already have that locked down, amazing. Kudos to you. Keep that up. For those that are exercising every day, stretching every day, just doing some type of movement, don't stop. But at the same time, make sure you're going in your own pace. You want to give up. My advice is not necessarily give up, but take the 14th and 15th rep. Take a breath, recharge, and then complete. No one says you have to do any of these exercises and a time competition for yourself and a challenge, that's amazing. But when you're actually trying to improve and motivate yourself when it comes to being physical, you have to go at a pace where your body's okay with it. We can never push our body's limitations. And I think it's important when we're all understanding this when it comes time to movement, is that you'll get there eventually is what I'm getting at. You will get there eventually. And I think with the pace, not only for the physical part, but for the mental part, we don't know when this is going to be over. We don't know how this is going to change. We don't know what we're ready for. All we know is that our pace and our time now is that we'll do the best that we can possibly do. And yeah, give yourself a few more challenges and relate with other stories and listen to people's stories, listen to their advice. That's what I've been doing. I'm trying to cut my early time. But aside from just the physical, when it comes to your health, I think now that our worries have changed and need to focus on something good, I think the most important source of income right now is our health. So take care of yourself, and thank you for listening. Appreciate you guys.
Thank you very much, Rasha. Appreciate that. And we're aligned. Fitness is the cure. Physical health, mental health, it's all super important. Moving on. Our last guy, Dia. This guy. Oh dear. Oh dear. Terrible pun. When I interviewed him for the podcast almost a year ago now, he literally blew my mind. Since then, I've been fortunate enough to actually work alongside Dia on a project that we delivered here in Dubai. The guy, I've never seen him stressed. He's cool the whole time. Incredible talents. He's done so much, and I'm super excited to see what he's going to do now. Ladies and gentlemen, our next speaker, Dia.
All right, let me try to turn on the video. I don't know if you can do that, or I think Marcus needs to turn on my video.
I asked, here we go. Let's go again. I've asked you. Yes. There we go.
All right. All right, guys. Thank you so much for sticking around for my talk. And thanks, Marcus, for inviting me to be part of this. It's amazing to be among a lot of inspiring people. And I'm not going to take too much of everybody's time. I know it's closer to 10 o'clock, but yeah, I mean, super excited and honored to be part of this talk. Today, I think I just wanted to give you a small background about myself. I'm a musician at heart, and kind of started my musical journey really when I was in high school. So today the talk is going to be about music and the effect of music on the human condition in general. I remember growing up in school, I used to find ways to get out of like chemistry and biology class just to end up in the music room and pick up different instruments and learn how to play them. I think very early on, I didn't really find my flow state through sports, but it was more through arts, music, and expression in that form. So I kind of developed, a love to music, and throughout my journey, I ended up fortunate to be able to share the stage with bands like Guns N' Roses, like Muse, Maroon 5, 30 Seconds to Mars. And we've gone on tour, and it was such a beautiful experience to be able to create something that connects with people, especially those who sometimes you've never met in your life. I found that digging into our personal state and our vulnerability in a way, being honest with ourselves about our human existence and our human experience, is a beautiful way to express and to connect with the people around us. As you can see today, I've managed to hook up my studio to this live stream, so I will be exploring a couple of music or performing a few music numbers as well with you guys a little bit later on. But to start with, I think the thing that I wanted to explore with you guys as well about music is how music stimulates us in different ways. Since everybody here is into sports, I think the first thing we can talk about is how music is a direct stimulant when we're performing sports. If you're running, if you're pushing yourself at the gym, I think listening to music would be, or normally gives us that extra oomph and the extra push. And through research, people say that if you listen to something between 120 BPM and 140 BPM, it puts us in this really nice rhythm that allows us to keep digging more and keep pushing more while we're doing different activities, and also on the productivity side as well. Music and memory plays a important role for me. I think sometimes I struggle to remember things if they're not linked to music. And very strangely, I don't know if you guys have this experience, but very strangely, I feel like I can remember lyrics much better than I can remember anything else. I would never be able to remember a chapter of a book, for example, but if you ask me for a lyric of a song, I could definitely pull that out. And I'm sure that the only reason why I remember my ABCs is because it was in melody. So otherwise, I would have probably never remembered that as well. People say that, if you're trying to learn a new language, if instead of just saying the words, if you try to sing the words, you probably remember these words a lot better than just saying them. So there's a very clear connection between music and memory that, in general, in our human condition, human existence, we need to be aware of and think about. And of course, music has an amazing, or sound in general has an amazing trigger in our memory that, if you listen to a piece of even a song, but what I'm going to do now is I'm going to share my audio. And hopefully you guys can hear this. But, if I said, something like this immediately would remind you of the movie Jaws. And it's something that we've developed in our brains. And then this was, you don't even need to kind of like think what it is. And it's one of the highest played tunes. And then you've got finally it's I'm loving it. So basically the point is we've developed these mechanism in our brains where sound in general really brings a specific memory, whether it's an emotional memory or an association to a brand or to a friend or to a breakup. And that's something that's super powerful about music and sound in general. What's also amazing is, as a culture, when we kind of evolved in our cognitive evolution, language was played a very important role in that evolution process. But why do we even have music as part of our culture? Why do cultures really transform their stories and bring into the culture into music? The one thing that we need to understand about music, it plays an act as a harmonizer more than just a solo speaker. The thing about language, it's normally one person speaks and another person listens, and then vice versa in a functional relationship, of course. And then in music, we can all collectively find our voices in harmony, which is another state of flow or another practice where you can really practice flow while you're performing music and performing songs in general. One thing I wanted to explore is if, for example, I'm speaking, different people speak at the same time, it's probably super hard for you to understand. But if this plays, then we can all, I'm sure that we can all probably like join in and join that sort of anthem. And there's something beautiful about a collective experience of music that really taps into our human journey and our human experience. It's always been a question for me, like what really creates an amazing song that people connect with? I've seen that Marcus recently shared a lot of live streams, from musicians around the world. Of course, with the current situation of the lockdown, there's a lot of musicians, a lot of artists that are creating art and allowing us to experience freedom through the process of sharing and through the process of music. So what really creates a song that can connect with people is the state of vulnerability that the songwriter enters when he's writing a song. And I think learning how to access that as musicians or even as people who are listening to this music will allow us to connect with our communities better, would allow us to understand each other better as well while we're experiencing different cultures and different situations in life. The thing about, and maybe I'll bring in Alan Watts' quote here, which was super cool when I read it this morning. The existence of the universe is a playful existence, similar to music. We say that we play the piano and we don't really work for piano. Unlike travel usually is a destination that we try to get to. Music is something that we have to experience. It's a journey. We never show up to a concert to listen to the final scene or to listen to the final chord. We show up to a concert to enjoy the entire process of the show. So with that, the thought that I want to leave you with is sometimes, we look at life as many destinations that we want to accomplish, like finishing school, go to college, get a job, find a partner, start a family. And we never really think about the journey itself. Or, for example, why don't we set them as travel for a year, explore your passions, build a new network of friends that have common interests around the world, develop a skill set that provides value to your community. And I feel like through music and through understanding that we can experience life as a journey and not just a destination, very similar to sports, very similar to the process of actually developing your human body through activity of sports. That's something that we can take away with us when we're experiencing music and the effect of music on our human condition. The one thing I wanted also to leave you with is how music can be a modality for therapy. I personally do a lot of meditation, and I specifically really connect with sound healing modalities, whether it's gong or whether it's Tibetan bowls. And as an experiment, I just want you to imagine if you're waking up in the morning to this kind of sound. So this is the sound of a construction, and I'm pretty sure you guys will be like super agitated, and your energy will be all over the place. But if you try to spend 10 minutes in the morning setting an intention, I'm going to speak a little bit lower now, listening to this kind of music, it immediately puts you in a different state of mind. So the power of music and the power of how music can influence our state of being is pretty massive. And I can see there's a few minutes left, so I'm not going to take too much of everybody's time. I think what I wanted to do is show you guys. We'll probably just play a tune that I know that Marcus was super engaged with when a lot of different musicians went live with us. I'm just going to turn on a few things, and I'll be back in a second. All right, so with the current COVID situation, of course, there's been a lot of musicians that went online and performed for people. So I thought, since I can play the guitar, maybe I'll play you a song to finish off this live session that I hope you enjoyed. Hope you guys can hear this. I'm a one-way motorway. I'm the one that drives away, follows you back home. I'm a street light shining. I'm a white light burning bright, turning off and on. It's times like these you learn to love again. It's times like these you give and give again. It's times like these you learn to love again. It's times like these, time and time again. I'm a new day rising. I'm a brand new sky to hang the stars upon tonight. I'm a little divided. Do I stay or run away, leave it all behind? It's times like these you learn to love again. It's times like these you give and give again. It's times like these you learn to live again. It's times like these, and time again. So yeah, thanks. Hope you guys enjoyed that. And back to you, Marcus.
Mate, what a way, what a finish. Artist steals the show. All of these guys just babbling on about sport. I'll just blow them out of the water. Mate, no, absolutely incredible. Wow.
I really like that song, so I just had to pull that for you.
So. Absolutely. I think, that's the one that BBC put out, and with all the artists, and wow.
Yeah, and it translates really well to the time that we're living through. You know, it's a crazy time, and I feel like it's teaching us a lot of things. So it's a nice reflection.
Mate, absolutely fantastic. Dia, you're a legend, mate. Thank you so much. Really appreciate that. That is super cool. Ladies and gentlemen, there we go. We are almost at the time. If people do have questions and they want to, we actually have one question here. If there are more questions, it's gone. I've lost it. Zoom technology. If you have questions, or maybe just connect with those guys. I'm a little bit conscious of everyone's time, obviously. So maybe, I have a problem here with the questions. We'll wrap it up there. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining InnerTalks 20. Thank you to Wolfi. Thank you to Andrea. Thank you to Rasha. And thank you to Dia. Incredible stories, thoughts on so many different levels. All that's left for me to do is wish you guys a fantastic day. Thank you for being with us. And hopefully sometime soon, we'll do this again in person. Thanks a lot, everybody.